Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor, and this is the second half of our top 50 science fiction films, part of our quarterly countdown sort of series that we're going to do. We're going to, most weeks we pick a film, we watch the film, we talk about the film. Every few months, every 3-4 months, we're going to do a countdown instead. This is the second part of our sci-fi countdown. Obviously, the first part's already up. This is going to be numbers 25 through number 1. Nice and straightforward. We alternate. Corey gives his pick, I give my pick. We keep going. So that's what this is going to be. You're looking very intently, as if you've got something.
I'm just staring at my list, going, okay, what have I got coming? I'm kind of remembering what I've got left.
I don't know. You're looking at me as if like we weren't recording or something. Like there's something wrong.
No, I've got my list over your face, so I don't have to see you. You see. It seemed like I'd enjoy that more.
Yeah. And for record, we're recording this the same night as the first half. We went and got a snack, and used the bathroom and all that, and then we're just back to do the rest of it. So
yeah,
this is a gauntlet for us, even though for you get it in 2 chunks. So anyway, without further ado, Connor, what is your number 25?
So my number 25, I think this is something you mentioned quite a bit earlier. This is Ex Machina. I don't know. I can't exactly remember what you mentioned about it, but for me, this is all about the performances. This lives and dies on the performances of the 3 characters. They completely take over their roles and become those people, and that is what the movie is. Because without those 3 being fantastic, this is a shit movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's it. It's been so good because of that, and I really love just the way it goes so dark towards a point, and it goes down places you don't see.
Yeah, it doesn't go where it goes in the final act is not where I think you expect it to go based on the first 2. It is well written, it's well directed, but yeah, without the good stars, without the good actors. I mean, I shouldn't say stars because none of them are actually stars at the time. They're all kind of becoming stars now because of other things, but. So obviously Oscar Isaac's in Star Wars, as is Domhnall Gleeson, but he's also popping up in all stuff. And then we got Tomb Raider with Vikander coming out soon. That's the only thing she's in either. She's in a bunch of stuff coming out soon.
They'll all be household names soon enough.
Yeah, they're all kind of getting there. Oscar Isaac's probably the biggest right now, but they're all kind of inching up the way. My number 25 is one that you've mentioned, and that is A War for the Planet of the Apes. Obviously, I already mentioned the original, and I think it's quite notable that when Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the first one in the new trilogy, was announced, I've told this story before, but my reaction to that was, huh? Why? Who wants this? Why are we making apes movies? Like, the original is good, the sequels are kind of goofy, but there's some entertainment, but we really don't need any more. And then it came along and proved why it should exist, and then it became this trilogy. And War is such an emotional climax. I was on the edge of my seat, basically throughout the entire thing. When I learned that it was, and I don't want to spoil anything, but when I learned what the plot was sort of revolving around, I was like, oh shit. And then it just kept, steamrolling from there.
Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to its marketing department, because it kind of just played it on tone. A lot of the trailers, I didn't really know that much going in. It kind of just unfolds in front of you.
If anything, the only thing you can really say against it, at least for me, is there's not really much of a war per se. Like the titles may be inaccurate, but other than that,
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's such a small
more
thing.
of some skirmishes.
Yeah, but it goes down these paths. It's very emotional. It's got a lot to say again, like the first 2 did. A lot of social commentary, as good sci-fi does, as Apes, in its legacy has done. Yeah. But no, beautiful.
I think it's notable that both of us, I believe, had that above the original.
Yep, I stand by that.
No, me too. And I think the original is a classic, but I think it just goes to show you what this new set of movies did.
Yeah, I think it's rare that the new iterations will outperform the original, but this is one of these weird cases where actually, you know what, kind of did. So
yeah. Okay, 24. This is another relatively recent movie. Last few years recent. This is Gravity. This is a technical showpiece, if nothing else. This is, to this day, the only movie I have seen in 3D and not regretted.
Yeah.
What a statement! I will add a caveat that I never saw Avatar in 3D.
Yeah, I saw Avatar in 3D. I never regretted seeing that in 3D. Everything I tried to see in 3D after Avatar, I regretted, which was not a big list because it wasn't very long.
After
Yeah.
3 films, you go, nah, screw this.
Yeah,
This was something I didn't actually want to see in 3D. It just so happened with Showtimes that it was 3D or not, or not see it.
yeah.
So I watched it, and my God, it was fantastic. This is, Sandra Bullock floating around in space.
Yeah, the only things I've seen in 3D since 2010 have been things that I either have to because it's the only option, or the show times line up that it's kind of the only option for when I don't need to go. That is the only time I've done it.
Honestly, I think the only things I've seen is this one, and what I think the second Hobbit movie, where I wanted to see it in the higher frame rate, because in the first one my cinema didn't have the high frame rate as available, and I know opinions on that, but I wanted to judge it for myself, and that was only available with 3D, so that was the package I took that with.
What did you think of the higher frame rate?
It's strange. I don't inherently hate it. I'd be intrigued to see it used more and see, okay, can we get to this? I understand why people dislike it though.
It oddly makes it look cheaper. It's weird, but it does.
It does. But I feel like there are times that this could be used where it could be a really good choice. I don't know what those are yet, but I hope that didn't kill the chances of the format existing in some way.
I don't mind if it's gone. And this is one of these things where it's video games. I blame video games. Like, video games are obsessed with as many frames as possible. But you know what? Film and video games are different formats. And
that's the thing. It makes sense in games because it's more frames, the quicker it reacts to you. You're the one doing it. Whereas with a movie, you just want to watch. You want it to unfold in front of you. You want it to have a different quality to just looking through your eyes, because it's that filter of, oh no, this is a movie.
Yeah. Anyway, so number 24. What was your pick there?
I did Gravity.
Gravity. Yeah, Gravity's very good. It's kind of like Waterworld, but in space.
Fuck off.
If you didn't watch the first part, you're just wondering why I just said that. But go back and watch the first part. That joke makes sense.
It does, annoyingly.
It's running on. There's a running joke here. Anyway,
you might say it's flowing.
Oh, it's flowing. No, the water runs, to be fair, as well.
It does both.
Get a running tap, yeah. Anyway, so my number 24, my TV's already turned off. I'm looking for the remote as I say this. My number 24 is Under the Skin, which is one that you already mentioned in the
I had it a little bit lower down, yeah.
You did. This is obviously Scarlett Johansson. She's an alien who's landed on Earth with the goal to essentially just harvest men. And she's driving around Scotland in a van and basically luring them in and being like, hey, I shouldn't say I'm Scarlett Johansson, but that's kind of it's like, hey, I'm an attractive lady. Come in.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it works for a reason.
Yeah, well, this is one of the things that I love that the movie does. It subverts the, if a man drove up in a white van and said to a girl, hey, why don't you come in, I'll give you a lift, the red flags, the neon glowing alarms would just be like going off everywhere. Everyone would be like, oh no, this is, you're going to kill me. But it subverts that, it reverses it, and it's like, the man thinks he's safe, because what can a woman do? It's kind of, it's poking at that arrogance almost, and it plays with that. And then on top of that, it's a very moody film, as you said, in the first half, and it's very atmospheric, and it goes down some really great ways. And I love how, its filming style. It's very slow, it's very quiet. Sometimes the camera will just sit there for a long time. There's a scene on a beach, which is it's like an almost standalone little scene, but it's very shocking in what happens, and you feel the awkward tension of it and the otherworld nature of what's going on. And it's nice to watch a movie about an alien that's not the army trying to blow things up or something else.
Yeah. No, I get you. It's a very different sort of alien movie.
Yeah. I love it. I said it was very Kubrick, of course, in the first half. I stand by that on this. I love it. I love it. What's your 23?
This is, again, something that you've mentioned a little bit earlier. This is Dread. This just works for me on every level. And yes, that is relevant because of the high rise. But some gorgeous action sequences. There's one in particular going out of off the floor that just stands in my mind even now, and it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, I already talked about that a lot in
Yeah.
the last one, so I will move swiftly on to my number 23, which is a Korean film called Save the Green Planet, which also popped up on my 2000s list, if you recalled that one from last month. This is a science fiction film, but it's also a comedy. It's about a guy who believes that aliens have invaded, and he solely is trying to save the world. But there is this lingering question the entire time: is he just crazy, or is there actually aliens on Earth? Is he just a psychopath who's kidnapping people that he thinks are aliens? And, you know, like, that's what we're doing here. It bounces around its genres. You know, it goes from drama to comedy, you know, at the drop of a hat. It is fantastic in that sense. And it's, again, it's social commentary. It's very touching. And the ending's oddly kind of bittersweet and like, highly impressive. I highly recommend Save the Green Planet.
Okay. I feel like I had the same reaction there as I did when you told me in the 2000s. I'm like, this sounds like a different sort of movie. I am intrigued in checking out at some point, though. Number 22? Yes, there we are. So this is the next Nolan movie that I've got on here. This is Inception. And, you know, we kind of touched on the music a little bit when we talked about Interstellar. Yeah. But it is unfair to boil even before we get on to the rest of the movie, it's unfair to boil the music down to that.
Yeah, it's got layers.
Very good. You know what? I'll allow it on this one. But, you know, Time is maybe Zimmer's finest work.
I have listened to that track. I don't know how many. That and Journey to the Line from The Thin Red Line. Those two tracks from Zimmer. Yeah. I have listened to countless times.
Yeah, moving beyond the movie, the music into the movie itself, it gets as the levels go deeper, so does the movie. It gets you delve away at a man's psyche, and you know what makes a person them, and you know what goes on inside your head in a very surrealist way at times.
It leads to a variety of inventive action sequences as well, because they're in different locations, they're doing different things. The rules of physics are kind of different because it's in a dream.
And the way that the different layers affect each other and the timings, the way that plays out is used to amazing effect.
It's a movie with a lot of ideas.
But it pulls most of them off.
Which is maybe its fault, because I think one of the legitimate complaints that people have about Inception is that the first half is a lot of exposition to explain all the crap that we're going to be doing in the second half, which is fair. I don't think it holds it back, but it is a fair comment to make. I will say that the ending, which is what time plays over, is one of my favourite endings of recent cinema.
Yeah, I know some people really don't like it, but
I love it. Yeah, I love it. My number 22 is one you've mentioned already, and that is Her, which is obviously Joaquin Phoenix falling in love with his operating system on his phone, which is Scarlett Johansson's voice. And I love it because it's a really personal film where you feel his loneliness, you feel there's moments where he's just lying in bed alone at night and he starts talking to her, and you feel almost the happiness that he has because he's got someone to talk to, and it's depressingly relatable in a lot of ways. I think anyone who's ever felt lonely will, watch this, and there'll be moments that will stand out from, certain scenes where you go, oh, I've kind of been in that situation when I felt lonely.
It's why I said it's so believable that it happens.
It's oddly believable given the outrageous concept at its core.
Yeah.
But it is a fantastic film. I love it. I love where it goes surprised me, but it actually works when you get there. Yeah. And it has a lot to say, again, I think I said this when you mentioned it, but it has a lot to say about relationships and how the pressure we put on ourselves to fit into these boxes that society says, oh, you got to find someone, you got to be a couple, and if you don't have that, you're this. But then there's the real part of it where you actually do feel lonely and you want someone, and it plays with all those things. Then you've got Chris Pratt's in a small role in this before he became Chris Pratt.
Yes.
Now, to be fair, I knew who he was because I like Parks and Recreation, which he was on, but this was before he became the movie star Chris Pratt.
Yes, yeah, the cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, where he joined all the other Chris's of the Marvel Universe, those being Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And of course, if you want to throw in Chris Pine, who's Steve Trevor. I mean, he's not Marvel, but...
No, but your quadrilogy of Steves that Steve, you said you've just done that to me. You said Steve Trevor, Chris's.
Yeah, yeah. You got a lot of Chris's, and you know, they're all absurdly handsome. It's kind of unfair.
It is unfair, isn't it? I feel like if you want to give your kid a better chance in life,
call him Chris.
Call him Chris.
All right, well, sure. Number 21.
My 21. This is Terminator 2. Yeah, which I'm sure you'll have in a bit. So I'll leave your thoughts for then. But this is how you do a sequel, essentially. This is you take expectations and you subvert them and you do something different. And I think that's to its credit.
On that subject, anyone who's just writing off Avatar 2, maybe think about that a little bit. Just before you write it off. That's all I'm saying.
No, I get what you're saying. But I'm not too keen on the first one of those. So
I like it well enough, but I'm just saying, no one does a sequel to James Cameron. That's all I'm saying.
No, I can't argue with that. He knows how to make a sequel interesting. Instead, because it's very common for a sequel to just go, it's the same thing but bigger, or it's the same thing but with a different character. They're very common ideas. This is no. Let's take the idea and flip it on its head.
Yep.
And that is to its credit. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
some great set pieces too.
Well, that was a little bit low, but I feel like you'll think my next one's a little bit low as well.
Oh dear.
My number 21.
I'm gonna hate you. I know what this is gonna be. I think.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
as in Star Wars, not before it was called A New Hope, all that nonsense.
Do you know what crushes me most about this? Is I know that's your favourite of the Star Wars.
Yeah. To be fair, Empire wasn't far off. To full disclosure, it didn't miss by much. Right? It's in the 50s. But this is my favourite, and it's kind of Star Wars for me, and what I like about the original is because of characters. It works best when it's being an adventure. I like the idea that all this history's there, but it is gone. Like, I always kind of just get bored when the Jedi actually exist as a thing. Whenever in the prequels, or even like I played a little bit in Knights of the Old Republic, and I was enjoying that game well enough. It's a decent little game, but
decent little game. God, this prick clearly didn't get to the twists.
I didn't know. Maybe I will one day. Yeah, I was enjoying it when I was playing it, but actually having the Jedi Republic and Council and everything else, that stuff kind of bores me. I don't really care. It's the interaction with Luke, Leia, and Han. It's those characters. It's that trio. And Empire's a great movie, but Empire does kind of split. Look away from the team a little bit.
It does. Yeah.
And there's something simpler about the plot of just going to get the just going to the Death Star and getting the information and saving Leia and getting out and having a big final.
It's very swashbuckling, isn't it?
It is to an extent, yeah. And I think I like that sense of adventure, and I think that's what Empire doesn't have for me, which is why I put this one over it. Even though I think Empire is still very good. I think Return of the Jedi is easily the weakest of the three for me. For a few reasons, it's still good. It's not like a bad movie, but it's definitely like a step down compared to the first two, fair. Which have their status as being some of the best movies ever made. But of course, anyone who knows me does know I have a problem that has become of the franchise of Star Wars and the cult-like devotion that it is garnered.
Yeah, that's not what we're here to argue. This is why I brushed over Rogue One, because that's not what tonight's about.
But I do love the first one, yeah. So the idea of the history of the Jedi, but it's something that's long gone, and you're tapping into it. But you've got the one guy left who might be able to do that. Is what I really like about it, and I like Obi-Wan, and obviously he's not in the others really. Outside of a little Force Ghost cameo or whatever.
Yeah. No, I get you.
So no, and it's why I think Last Jedi has a lot of other problems, but I think the core reason why I didn't enjoy that one as much is because again it split up all its characters. At least in Empire, Han and Leia stayed together for the most part. So that was
Yeah.
you still had that banter between those, but you know, Last Jedi, you know, all three of the characters you like, they're all separate and doing different things, and yeah,
No, that's true. It's a valid a complaint. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a personal preference more than
It's not objectively bad, but it's a valid reason to dislike something.
I do think what a lot of those characters are doing throughout the film are objectively bad, but they didn't have to be. They could still have that problem for me where they're split up, but the plots themselves could be good. Like, that is possible. I just don't think it was. But anyway, Star Wars 21.
Okay, so 20. If you recall, at the start of this first video, I said, you know, there was at least 2 movies on my list that we had done on Influx this year that we'd both seen for the first time. And you couldn't recall what the second one was. This is it now. This is the original Ghost in the Shell.
Okay.
I'm wondering what's so funny here. You trying to figure out what it was before me?
No. You seem to think I'd forgotten that. I hadn't forgotten it. It just didn't make my list.
No, I didn't think you'd forgotten it. I just when you were trying to think what it could be.
Okay, yeah.
You'd forgotten what it was there, clearly.
Yeah, I couldn't suss it at that point. No.
Yeah. No, I loved this movie. I thought it was fantastic. This is how you do action sequences in animation for a start. And I mean, even Peter here, who is famed for hating anime, liked this movie. That is saying something. It's a very quiet movie for a lot of it. It takes its time and breathes and lets its set pieces happen. It doesn't just throw in shouting dialogue over the top of it. It lets the emotional beats just land, and I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. No, I like it. It has style. It looks good. I like the visuals. I like to say the action's very good.
Great score.
Really good score. I liked the themes it was playing with. I liked the main character. My only main criticism was how the rush kind of ending, where it just kind of felt like it suddenly stopped, and it didn't feel like it actually reached the climax.
That stands.
And it did lead to a series, I believe. So obviously there's something there in that. But as a movie, it does suffer a little bit for that. But no, I liked it way more than I was expecting. So
yeah.
You know, it's way better than the live action.
I think it's the only anime movie I have on here. Not to spoil anything. I really wanted to put Akira on. It came close. It was in the high 50s.
Yeah, I tried watching that once.
Yeah, no, it was there and like right at the bottom of the list until I started remembering some other stuff at the last minute. I was like, oh no, that's got to be on there. So sorry, you're going.
My number 20. We're back to something else I've mentioned a few of so far, and that is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This, I mean, Rise was very good. Rise surprised me in so many ways that I was actually excited for the next one. Matt Reeves directed War and Dawn, and Dawn just completely Dawn is a fantastic modern piece of science fiction filmmaking. Obviously, Arrival's a great example, which Connor brought up in the last part, and there's a few others, of course, as well. But I think Dawn is one of the best in terms of like pure social commentary, in terms of that type of science fiction. But what makes it really great is that it's all about the build to when, because it's all about trying to build a truce between the apes and the humans. The humans have been diminished to just X amount of people left, and the apes have got their society, and it's flourished, and you have characters who you like on both sides. You have people you don't like on both sides, and it's all heading to a tragedy. But you care about them so much that you're desperate for it not to. You want them to work it out. You care, and your heart sinks when it does fail, and it just
it's one glorious. Of those rare occasions where you truly rooting for both sides.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. There's characters you care about on both sides.
Yeah.
And as we said, the effects. I mean, arguably they were up again a little bit for War. It wasn't a huge leap, certainly, because I didn't go into that and be like wowed the same way I was. Not because they'd gotten worse, just because no, this is as good as Dawn, if not maybe a little bit better. But
yeah,
fantastic. Photoreal for the most part. There's one or two things that maybe stick out as being not 100% perfect, but
it was definitely the snub of the year, that not winning its visual effects.
What won that year? Do you happen to know?
I don't even know, but I know it wasn't this because I remember thinking that it lost, and don't understand how.
Whatever it was wrong. I always remember, actually, not that Transformers is a great movie, but I remember that losing to the Golden Compass for visual effects the year it came out, and just being like, what?
Really?
Yeah, I think it was Golden Compass, because that's a big bear in it, right? A big white bear?
Yeah, big polar bear, yeah.
Yeah, that one, that beat the Optimus Prime effects and stuff.
Don't get me wrong, that bear looks pretty good, but... Really?
Transformers was pretty next level at the time.
For its time, yeah. Like, I mean, I say for its time, it's only a decade old, but... And I think that first movie's pretty good.
It's okay, but I mean, the effects, if you're judging the effects...
Oh, the effects were great for its time, absolutely. No arguing on that.
But anyway, so, yeah, that was my 20.
Yeah, okay, 19. It's funny how this is back-to-back with my 20, because this is the other movie that you were expecting that we covered on Influx. This is Stalker, which we talked about a lot earlier, of course, in the last video. Oh boy, so many ideas, so many thoughts. We watched this a couple of months ago now, and it's still in my head. Every so often I'll see, oh yeah, I watched that, and I'll go, another thought will pop into my head even now. And the fact that it's doing that to me months later is why this is so high.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
If you like to think about your movies, this Stalker's,
yeah.
But again, very art house. I think I said that last time.
It is, yeah. Be warned. But and just something you didn't mention in the other half is I love the way it uses color and the palette to designate areas and times. It's really clever.
Oh, it's good. We had a good conversation on the review actually about why it was in 4:3.
Yeah, because we were actually kind of going, well, I'm feeling this at certain points, and then we kind of talked through why these might be, and by the time we'd sussed it out, it was like, okay, I like it.
It made sense. Like we actually sussed out why the director made that choice, because it wasn't the forced 4:3. He had the choice to make it 4:3.
Absolutely,
and that was an interesting discussion. So I do recommend watching it, and I do recommend checking out our conversation after you do. My number 19 is fairly recent, and that is Mad Max Fury Road. Which I do think is the best Mad Max movie. I'm spoiling that now because I've already said Road Warrior before, and that's the only one that should have beat it. I mean, I've not seen 3,
but by all accounts,
but yeah, by all accounts, 2 is the only one that could maybe. It's either 2 or Fury Road, depending on your taste.
It is, yeah.
Fury Road, I hold this dear because for months Matt said he didn't like the look of it, and I told him, stop being an idiot, you're going to love it. And he was persistent, and then he finally went to see it, kind of begrudgingly, and then he's like, okay, I was wrong about Fury Road. For some reason, based on the trailers, he just didn't think it looked that good, and I was like, I don't know what you're seeing, Matt. We're looking at different trailers. This is insanity. No. It's a fantastic action movie. The entire thing is one big car chase. Again, I love a simple... You can almost call it a gimmick, but I love a simple thing like that, where, okay, we're going to frame the movie around this one core idea, that the entire thing's a car chase. And it's great. Tom Hardy plays Mad Max. He hardly has any lines. Charlize Theron plays Furiosa. She's great. It actually has a really good, solid sort of core, moral story to the center of it. And the characters grow with little dialogue, and it's full of great practical. I mean, obviously some CG helping things out, but a lot of practical stunts.
It's mostly practical, from what I can see. There's a particular thing that is CG enhanced at the very least.
Oh yeah, I think. I think simple things like the stunts themselves are mostly practical, but the backgrounds might actually be CG, because to do the stunts, maybe it's not just an open desert, depending.
No, but that's fair. I do know for a fact they were out in the desert a lot. I remember when this came out, all the cast hated each other by the time they were done, didn't they?
Well, that's the thing. This movie got delayed multiple times because they had to wait for the desert to be usable, because they wanted to shoot it out there. But I'm just thinking, if there's times where they had to have a safety truck behind them or something in a certain scene, that's the sort of thing where CG was used to take things out.
There's a storm where they CG in some glorious colour.
Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah.
And it looks amazing. And it's one of the things, I know there's the black and white edition, what do they call it? Black and chrome.
It's blood and chrome.
Blood and chrome, whatever.
Something like that.
And I'm going, okay, I get the appeal, but man, you lose some stuff like that. I'm just like, it wouldn't be the same.
That said, I have one critique of this, because the music's great as well. John KXL, who unfortunately is kind of sullied in my eyes, or my ears I should say, because of his co-work on Batman v Superman, but the score in Mad Max Fury Road is fantastic.
Oh, it's great, yeah. I still listen to it.
Yeah, as do I. Redemption is the track that I love to go back to. But the one legitimate complaint I could have is there's some, for some reason, there's some day for night stuff around 2/3 into the movie, and it looks like crappy day for night, like just tinted blue bollocks, and it looks like something that was made in the 70s when they thought they could get away with it. And I guess it's to do with the fact that they didn't want to shoot in the desert at night for, a number of reasons, I imagine.
It gets cold as balls.
That'll be one of them, no doubt. But it looks, and I just wonder that that's probably the one thing that really benefits from the black and white, is that's probably not as obvious.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's fair in that sense. But no, Fury Road, fantastic. And this is why 2016 felt really shit for blockbusters, because 2015 was actually pretty good.
And it's funny, we just talked about how Apes was snubbed. This kind of swept at the awards. This did fantastic, better than anyone expected.
Yeah, it was mostly technical stuff.
Sure, but even like, it was getting nominations in other things that people weren't expecting, and it was
rightfully
cleaning
so.
Up. Yeah,
rightfully so. What's your 18?
My 18. You might consider this too low. I'll warn you now.
All right.
This is Serenity. I know it's too low because I have a sneaking suspicion I know where it places on your list, and I won't let I won't go on too long now because I know you'll want to speak about it properly at length in its deserved spot as you so see it. But this is, of course, the capping off and conclusion to Firefly, which of course was cancelled. And get your reference in. Go on.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was made by Joss Whedon, who also did Dollhouse.
Okay, you're saving it. All right, it's fine. I knew you were. I just thought I'd force you into it. I'd steal that away from you at least. But no. Okay, fine, you prick. But no, this is fantastic movie.
I think you're forgetting the episode of Streams that I did with Tim about I Know What You Did Last Summer, which Sarah Michelle Gellar's in, and I kept referencing other things she was in all episode, and I didn't say Buffy.
I think you're forgetting I never listened to that.
You should go listen. You'd probably get a kick out of it.
I probably would, actually.
Because I kept phrasing it like I was like, oh, it's from the hit movie, Cruel Intentions, and
it's very good. Also a good movie, but well, Serenity, yeah, yeah, no, this is a great movie. There is no doubt about it, and it is an emotional journey. Being that it is this capper to this story that shouldn't really exist, but it does somehow. It's here. It's made it, and I honestly don't know quite how it exists even now. Even though I know the story, like I know the details, it just seems like this never happens in these stories. Something gets cancelled. We'll continue it. It's usually okay. We'll give you a book. We'll give you a comic. We'll give you something. How often does it go? All right, we'll get a movie. It seems so rare, and it's pretty special.
More on this one later.
I know. That's fine. Go on.
My number 18. The cat's distracting me. He's over here, like he's right in the camera. Look at this.
Yeah. You had to redo that.
Yeah. But anyway, my number 18 is actually one you've mentioned already. It is Brad Bird's best film, The Iron Giant.
Second best.
Best film. This is as we said before, it's a kid who befriends a giant robot from an alien planet, and basically teaches him about Superman and about how he can choose to be who he wants to be. And it's got a very touching moral centre. It is everything that I love about Brad Bird and why I want him to make a Superman movie someday.
I'd love that. Touching
characters, and he proved he can do live action. Mission Impossible 4 is the best Mission Impossible movie, and it's not even close in my opinion.
I haven't seen past like 2 or 3. I definitely saw 2. I don't know if I saw 3 or not. I keep planning on. I'll watch them when the next one comes out, and then I never do.
They get better after 2. Admittedly, 3's better than 2. And then
I know. I keep going.
Pretty good.
I thought 1 was all right. 2 was bad. Don't get me wrong, but 1 was all right. And I keep going. I'll watch them when the next one comes out, and I just don't. And maybe this time I'll do it. We got another one coming soon.
We do. We got Mission Impossible 6 coming this year.
And maybe I'll do it. But
Mission Impossible Fallout. Yeah. But no, Iron Giant's touching. It's emotional. Beautiful animation. There's almost not a frame of it you couldn't just pause and print it out and put it on the wall.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's great stuff, and it's exactly what I want in a kids movie. I mean, it's not quite like a Stranger Things 80s thing, but I mean it's set in the 50s. It's worth mentioning that it's set in a time period, but it does have that one soul kid kind of version of that where it's him against the world, and he befriends a giant. So, I highly recommend The Iron Giant. I love it. We did an Influx in this, of course, and I praised it at length.
And to be fair, I also praised it at length, just not quite as long.
Yes.
It's very good.
What's your 17?
My 17 might be controversial, actually. Not because of what it is or why it's on the list, because I think that's a safe inclusion for many people.
Curious.
But the fact that it is above an earlier movie will be controversial. This is The Terminator. The first one, not Terminator, above Terminator 2, which to many people is just wrong. And I get it. I said Terminator 2 is a masterclass in how to make a sequel, but I still prefer the first one. I still prefer the Terminator being the Terminator, just stalking through the presence, the mood. It works for me more on a taste level. I love it.
More on this one later.
Okay.
Well, I'm obviously going to have Terminator, so I'm
No,
fine.
that's what I'm saying. The inclusion isn't controversial, but it being above 2 is where I feel like a lot of people will give me shit.
They're both too low. Number 17, my number 17, more specifically, is The Truman Show. Which is a film where Jim Carrey, I got 2 Jim Carrey movies, look at that.
I don't have any.
Jim Carrey does not realise that he is living in a reality TV show. There's basically a big dome with a fake town inside it where he lives, and he's been there since a baby, and everyone else in his life is an actor, and people watch his life every day. This was made in 1999, so it's kind of before the real reality TV boom.
Yeah, it was right at the start of it.
Right at the cusp of it, or 1998, sorry. And it'd have been so it'd have been written probably in 96, 95. I mean, is it even based on a book? It might be. But the point being is that it's definitely a forward-thinking kind of like, sort of, it's almost like a very...
It saw where the curve was going.
Yeah, but sci-fi often does that, but what I'm saying is that it's right before the time. It's like,
well, that's what I mean. Sometimes when I say, it's forward thinking, like they're kind of just projecting ideas that we kind of get to later. Whereas this is no. They see reality TV, they go, okay, I see where that's going, and then they go from there.
But it's basically that, and he slowly discovers, of course, that something's not quite right. That he starts to notice things, he starts to see things, and he starts to sort of test it and see if he can get out. And it all kind of builds up. Ed Harris is in it as well. He plays like the guy who runs the show, so he's essentially God in his world. It plays with all these great ideas, and they're in the moon, by the way. Everyone who runs the show, it's like the command center is in the moon because that's just where the base is. It's in the sky, but it's great. No, it's a touching story. It's really well acted. I remember being disappointed when I saw this as a kid because it was a Jim Carrey movie and I thought it was going to be a comedy because he's Jim Carrey. But as an adult and as I grew up and a teenager and I revisited it, I discovered a fantastic sort of low-key science fiction film that was full of a lot of ideas that are very relevant still. Jokes about product placement, jokes about how drama's manufactured, jokes about how people view things, because it occasionally cuts to people at home watching the show and their reactions to things. So there's there's satire in there, but no, it's great. I love it. But it's got some hopeful messages as well, amongst the more sort of critical elements of its satire. But hey, Truman Show, I recommend it.
Cool. My number 16 is Midnight Special. This is a relatively recent movie from a couple of years ago. I'm not going to guess the year on this one. I thought you were going to fill me in, but fine. Just leave me hanging.
It was 2015 or 16. I wasn't entirely sure, but
that's why you didn't jump in on this one.
Well, if I don't know, I don't bring it up like an idiot.
Yeah, I know, but I thought you'd jump in. I thought you knew. So God damn it, you're supposed to have my back on this. But anyway, this is a great movie. This is about a kid with powers and his father taking him somewhere on a journey. And
I feel like you're avoiding something thinking it's a spoiler, but it's not.
I mean, that depends.
I think from the trailer I knew what you're avoiding.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I see. I don't remember the trailers well enough.
I remember going into it knowing what you're avoiding, but I mean, it's fair enough. You can dodge it. It's fine.
Yeah. I'm being considerate just in case someone didn't see it. And this is okay. So this is the story of what are we gonna do with this kid? He's got these powers. He's struggling to control them. He has to, he can only come out at night because the sun kind of triggers him a bit. And it has a great atmosphere because of that. There's always, boarded up windows, tiny slits of light here or there. It's very much electric lights everywhere. And, of course, there is a chase. There's people want the kid and all sorts. And where it goes at the end is somewhere I didn't see going at all. But I think it's really fascinating. It really opens it up in a way that on a rewatch makes it really interesting. I don't know if you've watched it more than once.
I haven't seen it again since I saw it. I did like it a lot, but I haven't seen it again since.
And it has beautiful music that I still listen to probably every month or so.
It's a surprisingly pretty good Superman movie, even though it's not Superman. And on top of that, it kind of harkens back to... It could almost be like a spiritual sequel to something like Starman, or... I'm trying to think of some other things that sort of have a similar tone. But it kind of fits into that vibe.
Yeah.
And obviously Michael Shannon's he's the dad, he's the one doing all the stuff. But no, I will concur. It even has some similar things to Flight of the Navigator in a kind of way. Just in the sense that you've got these government stooges and scientists who want them. And I
get you. Yeah,
you've got that because there's a whole.
That's the thing. It's a very common idea, especially of things from the 80s. I feel.
Yeah.
But this plays it in a very serious way. It's no, this is a threat rather than just this is something fun to escape from.
Yeah. As much as I joked about it being kind of a Superman movie, they actually bring up Superman. Like I went into it thinking about Superman, and then they actually brought up Superman in it.
No, they do. They kind of teach the kid about Superman. Yeah. So again, we talked about the Iron Giant, how teaches the Iron Giant to be like Superman. Does the same here.
My number 16 is The Abyss. Now, I don't know how much of this is going to be me complaining that there's no proper way of watching this right now, but I'll get to that in a minute. The Abyss is a James Cameron film. This is what he made between Aliens and Terminator 2. So this is a bit of an interesting era for James Cameron in his career, where he's knocking out these films. It's mostly set at an underwater base. It's like a mining operation or something underwater, and there's basically weird stuff starts happening, and they encounter aliens, and there's something strange going up on the surface as well that they're not really sure about. And a lot of it is about Ed Harris, who's the main character. There's that name again, and his ex-wife, who's like down here as well. She comes down, which he's not very thrilled about. Michael Bihn's in it as well, another Cameron regular. So you got all these characters, and they're investigating this thing, and it actually has sort of the prototype CG that would later become the T-1000. Like there's like a water thing that happens at one point, and it's like it's like 1989, and there's this like CG like water face thing that happens at one point, and then like I'm sure at the time it blew people's minds because it like. I mean, you watch it now, and it's like, anything can do that now. But
is this one he does a lot of filming underwater? Because obviously he worked on that. I know he's planning on using that technology again for the Avatar sequels.
Yeah, there's a lot of underwater stuff, a lot of underwater miniatures for the base and stuff, and all that. Yeah. Really memorable, likeable characters for the most part. I will say this: there is the theatrical cut, and then there's the special edition cut, which is basically the director's cut. Watch the director's cut. Do not watch the theatrical one. What it cuts out of the theatrical of the full version and the theatrical cut is like because I saw the theatrical first not knowing, and I liked the movie quite a bit, and then I watched the full version and I couldn't believe what they cut out. Like I was gobsmacked what they took out the third act. It was insane.
Really?
But there's great moments of tension. It's got a really good human story to it, and it's got that kind of magical vibe towards the end when you realise what's kind of going on, and the heartfelt message at the end. And as I was alluding to, currently there is no HD version of this. There's not even an anamorphic standard definition version of this. The DVD that is still the newest version that is available is non-anamorphic from the Laserdisc, and it looks like absolute crap on any TV that's like big enough by like today's standards.
This is the main reason I haven't watched this, because I look at it and go, I could watch it, but what if they bring out a better version? And I want to, save myself to that now.
It looks like absolutely, like, it's so frustrating.
Let's be honest. The day this comes out in a real format, that
We're
we
doing
can
it.
actually enjoy,
Yeah.
that's going to be a Flux.
Yeah.
I mean, instantly, right?
Immediately, yeah, we're doing it because I've not watched it in over like 15 years now. Because even just even like a decade ago, it was already looking crap compared to
Yeah.
like what I was watching, and it was just too hard to watch it anymore. It's just it's so
It's
low
the reason I
resolution.
can't bring myself to do it, because I'm like, I don't want to ruin what is potentially an amazing movie with a shitty version.
Yeah, and I mean, like whenever it pops up in like a streaming service, it'll technically be in HD, but it's just upscaled from this crappy version. So it's not worth checking out on there, unfortunately. So I'm laying in wait for Cameron to approve the 4K remaster that'll save us from our doom. I'm waiting
What
for
year
it.
did this come out in? Do you know?
89. It's a good
All right,
year.
well, I'm just thinking, maybe next year.
Oh yeah, 30th anniversary. That makes a lot of sense. But by the way, we're still waiting on a HD or True Lies while we're on the subject. Just we're on the subject of James Cameron.
Yeah. Let's get on this, man.
movies.
You've got enough money. Do it.
Oh, yeah, but I'm hopeful, and I love the set. I love the underwater vibes. It's got that kind of not horror, but you could set a horror movie here. Like you could. It's dark. It's just the blue glow of the lights that are down in the station. I love it. It's great. Yeah, and Ed Harris is great, of course, as is a lot of the other cast. So, what's your number 15?
My number 15 is one we've actually already talked about quite a bit. This is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, there you go.
It's significantly higher than the others. I think, even though I think War is excellent, and it really hit the emotional climax of the trilogy, this is the high point. This is the movie that defines maybe the Planet of the Apes series now for me. I think it's the one that you can kind of skip over, right? You shouldn't. It's still a good movie, but this is the one if you want people to go, okay, you watch a movie, this is the one you can just hand to them.
There's actually nice callbacks in both the second and the third movies to the first one, so I wouldn't recommend skipping it. But
No, I wouldn't either.
but it's really good anyway. It's just not as amazing as the other two. I agree Dawn was highest, obviously, but not as maybe by much of a leap as you are saying.
No. I'll be honest. I might change. I said at the start of the first video, I think that I back and forth on this list all day. You ask me tomorrow, I might have them closer. But
all right, my number 15 is one you've already brought up, and that is Gravity. A movie that I have seen get some shit from various people who don't think it has much of a plot or whatever. For me, this is a really simple, extremely well executed, thriller in space. This science fiction kind of, it's just this one person trying to survive and get to the little station or get to the little ship and try and find a way to get back to Earth.
It's funny because you said when we talked about Mad Max Fury Road, it's a gimmick, but that's okay with you. You're like, if you do a gimmick and make it work, that's fine. That's all you need sometimes.
If anything, I like that more sometimes because it's like they're saying no. That's what I like about bottle movies, not because I always bring that up. But I love that we're saying no. This whole thing is just set in one room. All right, how do you do that?
It's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you can make that work, it's skill and talent. I think that to go on here, that's the same thing here. Gravity is essentially it's a gimmick, and it's a gimmick that works. And the cat is really distracting.
He's right up in the face of the camera now.
Do you know what the worst part is? I've got my list kind of right in the middle of his face, so I've just got ears popping out from the side of my list. I'm like, what's going on?
No, Gravity is great. I love the music so much. I love
Stephen Price does a phenomenal score.
I love the ending. I love the human story at the heart of it. It's arguably not super deep, but it's just enough. It's just enough to give it this arc that makes it work. But it's this thrilling, and it's the ultimate kind of on your own, because being on your own in space where it's a vacuum is about as on your own as you could possibly be. Where everything feels, and I know people who are really good with physics, and I'm sure people who work at NASA think this is a comedy because of some of the things that happen in it.
I know. Neil deGrasse Tyson, did a breakdown thing, and he said, "You know what? It takes some liberties, but it's pretty good."
Yeah, but some people are really sticklers for it. Really hate certain things. Technically that velocity shouldn't be there because of this, and so on. And you know what? I love it. It's a thrill ride. I saw this 3 times at the theater. I keep going back, and it was all 2D, by the way.
But not in 3D. That's the key thing.
Not in 3D.
You missed out. Honestly, you missed out.
I don't know if I would have felt that way. But hey, what's your 14?
My 14. I guess this is where my list starts to get a bit more predictable and boring. This is Return of the Jedi. Yeah, we're here. We're at Star Wars.
I'm so shocked.
Hey, give me peace. My God, that is really distracting. Sorry. No, Return of the Jedi. I love this movie. This is in the same way we were talking about, war being weaker than dumb, but it's the emotional climax. This is the same with Return of the Jedi. This is the climax of the trilogy. This is where this is the payoff. This is where this comes down to it, and I care about these moments, these decisions, because of these characters. Yes, it's inherently a little bit weaker than the other two in the trilogy. Not disputing that, but I really do love it. And part of this is, there's been a few here. There's nostalgia. I grew up with this. I watched this a lot as a kid, a lot, and I will still watch it happily right now. These movies are something that I will watch so often, probably every year, and not get bored and see something new every time. And honestly, the final confrontation between Luke and Vader is just special.
Obviously, didn't make my list. I think the dip to this is like, I don't think there's a dip between Dawn and War of the Apes. I just think Dawn's just that bit more fantastic. Yeah. Whereas I do think there's a dip to Return of the Jedi. I think the middle of the movie is a bit more of a, we're wandering around the jungle, Ewoks, blah blah blah. The opening is very strong. The final is very strong, but the middle is a bit. When we're on the planet.
That's fair. It's definitely the weakest section of the movie. I still like it a lot, but it is the weakest section.
Yeah. They're about to be roasted and whatnot. I'm usually just kind of a bit bored during that.
You're not a fan of the Ewoks.
I don't hate them, but I don't like that part of the movie.
That's fair. I feel like most people have a really strong opinion on Ewoks. It's like, yeah, I love Ewoks, or they hate the little bastards. I
don't hate them. I'm just not that interested in the plot with them, really, all that much.
That's fair.
But hey, so that's your, what was that?
14.
My number 14 is Jurassic Park. We've been bringing up music a lot, obviously. Yeah. Williams' second best score by my money.
Do you know what? I'd have to say, you know how I said I've been tinkering for hours with this sci-fi list? I would spend days tinkering with the Williams list.
Hey, maybe that's a sign that one of these countdowns someday should be top 50 scores. But
that's harsh.
That'll be one to do at the time.
Okay.
Given how much we talk about music, though, I feel like
it would be appropriate. Although, that would be how much Williams would there be in that list?
Yeah, I'd be worried there'd be so much Zimmer and Williams that it would look really weird because it would be so lopsided to like 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
But hey, Jurassic Park. I don't have to say a lot about this, do I? It's
Jurassic Park.
Bit of trivia. I've probably brought this up before, but this is the first movie I ever saw in the theater.
Really? Do you want a fun fact of what mine was?
I bet this is shit. Go on.
No, you're gonna love this.
Oh, Lost World.
No.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, okay. Caveat: it's the first movie I remember seeing in the cinema.
Okay.
I was probably taken to some before, but I don't remember them. Star Wars Phantom Menace. Genuinely the first movie I remember in a cinema.
This explains so much. No wonder you're such a social reject. This explains so much.
Look, I'm not defending that movie. It's clearly not on my list, although God forbid if it was at this point. That would be a scary thought.
Your psyche took such a beating at such a young age. This is
I remember I was already a fan of the original trilogy at this point. I was excited. And I was young.
How old were you?
5, 6?
Right.
I don't know. What year was that? 99?
99.
5, give or take?
I didn't even see the original trilogy till I was like 10.
No. I'd already worn out my VHS copies at this point. And I was not allowed to go and see it until I could pronounce Phantom Menace properly, which as like a 5-year-old was tricky.
Bullshit, I could have done it.
All right, well, I remember finding it tricky at the time. Screw you.
What would you even say instead?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just have a memory of being told, no. It was like, you can't go until you say it properly. Because I just say episode 1 to get out of it as a kid. Okay. So I wouldn't have to say it. And they were like, no, you're saying it properly or you're not going to see it.
You know that's my opinion on this, but I actually hate the whole episode number and having Star Wars and all of them. Like I liked it when it was just Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the. I like just that having that title, nothing else.
Do you hate it less though, knowing that Empire was always out as Episode 5? That was never just Empire Strikes Back.
I never knew that growing up. I assumed it was a change at some point with all the other bollocks. It actually blows my mind that he had the gall to release that as Episode 5 at the time.
Yeah, because you had, just Star Wars, and then you had the re-release of that before Empire as, Episode 4, A New Hope.
The gall on that asshole to do that is astounding to me.
It is ballsy, isn't it?
But I hate it because I hate it with all things. Like it's the same as the Twilight. Like the second movie, the Twilight Saga, and then whatever the second one was called, I can't remember which one was which. But Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, whatever the next one was.
New Moon.
That sounds right.
I'm racking my mind. It's in there somewhere.
So, something moon. There was definitely a moon of some kind. Because the werewolf didn't come in till like the moon one, right? He wasn't in the first one.
That can't have been that far in. That has to have been
so it's probably the second one, yeah.
Yeah.
Aye, okay.
We sussed it. Look at this. Sci-fi list. We're nailing Twilight.
Right. But it's the same thing I don't like about that, is like the Twilight Saga and then the next title. Just call it Breaking Dawn. Like, people aren't that stupid.
No.
It can work. I don't know, it's just I don't know. It bugs me. Anyway, Jurassic Park's very good, is the point I'm trying to make.
It is. It is fantastic.
Dinosaur effects. I liked dinosaurs when I was a kid.
Who didn't?
So, especially at that age when I was 4 and I got taken to see it. And I remember watching it when it hit TV 2 years later in Christmas, or around Christmas. It was around Christmas when it aired. And I remember watching it and taping it and watching it again and again. So funnily enough, Jurassic Park, because it's the first movie I ever saw in the theatre, it's also the oldest franchise that I've seen every movie of in the theatre. Because I've seen every one since.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I'd have to sit and think about what mine would be.
Well, it's easy for me because it's the first movie I ever saw.
Yeah. No, that was easy. I'd have to work it out.
Unless I get re-releases of other things where I could fill in the gaps, but I doubt it.
That's kind of cheating anyway, though, isn't it? That's getting it on a technicality.
Yeah, because I saw Back to the Future in the theatre. I actually saw Jurassic Park again in the theatre when it got re-released for its 25th, whatever anniversary it was. It got re-released. I saw it again. I saw it twice again, actually, which wasn't intentional. The second time it was because other people wanted to see it, but I wasn't complaining. That's fine.
Yeah, Jurassic Park. You're never going to say no, are you?
Because hearing that score with the big speakers and, it's quite the experience.
It is.
That said, obviously we've not done the Jurassic Park movies on in Flux yet. We might do it someday, of course. When the next World comes out, we might go back and do it.
Is that next year now?
No, that's this year.
This year?
Yeah,
I thought for some reason I'm thinking it got pushed, but
yeah,
so it did.
We may actually do the Jurassic.
We've got some sort of trailer for that, right?
Yeah, we've had a trailer. Yeah. So we may actually do Jurassic Park movies this year, but
screw it. Let's do it.
Bit of tidbit for you. Just there's one thing that bugs me. I love the helicopter coming in. I love that big brassy theme coming in as the helicopter's swooping into the island. Mm-hmm. But there's a pan there that ever since I've learned how to use a camera that bugs the shit out of me. And you can tell because they were filming a real helicopter flying around, they couldn't just do it again. But there's a really bad pan. The cameraman doesn't pan at the right time for the helicopter going past them. And it is admittedly hard to do when you're not trained, but this is Jurassic Park, directed by Spielberg. I have to imagine they hired a professional cameraman to pull off this job.
Just missed the moment for whatever reason.
Yeah, but obviously it would cost too much to just get the helicopter back in the area to it again. So
it'll do.
Yeah, that was basically it. Yeah, so... but yeah, so what's your 13?
My 13 is Big Hero 6. I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. Right. I think it's surprisingly underrated. I feel like it was talked about a lot when it came out and then kind of got forgotten about.
I don't know if this would make my list, but I will say I never even considered that it was sci-fi. It never occurred to me when I was thinking about it.
No, this was quite a thing that occurred to me quite late. I was like, no, that does count. It kind of just crossed my mind. I was looking around at my shelves going, what have I missed? And that caught my eye.
I do like it a lot, though. I was pleasantly surprised. It kind of... Because it came out the same year as other animated stuff that I really like, so it kind of got ignored for a little bit. And
was that the one with How to Train Your Dragon 2? Was that year, maybe?
But when I saw Big Hero 6, I was like, oh, but I like that more than Lego Movie. Like, for me, How to Train Your Dragon 2 was number 1, and then this was like a good second, and then I thought Lego Movie was good, but I didn't love it as much as...
I like the Lego Movie a lot, but I think that's also the third for me. I prefer Big Hero 6 over How to Train Your Dragon 2. but yeah,
But yeah,
not that much in it.
we know you're wrong
But
sometimes, but yeah, go on.
whatever. Screw you. This is a fantastic movie, though. This is a group of kids becoming superheroes essentially with giant inflatable health robots and nanobots and paintball things. There's just all sorts going on. You've got, the bunch of students just, hey, let's invent some shit. Let's have some fun.
Do you know, I know this is based on a Marvel thing, and I know there's a Stan Lee cameo, but it still doesn't really feel like a Marvel thing, ever.
It doesn't.
It just feels like a standalone thing, but...
Do you know what? I know they're doing an animated TV show of it soon, as a sequel to the movie. I'm weirdly looking forward to it.
It's risky, because sometimes it'll be like this cheaper thing that's not as good, and you don't really
It might be,
that's
the thing, it might be atrocious.
Because How to Train Your Dragons get like a cartoon...
I think, the Netflix, right?
I think so. And I've never watched it, but whenever you see the images from it, I'm like, oh, this doesn't look as good as the movie. And I'm
no, my girlfriend's watched it. She says it's all right.
Yeah, maybe it's fine. I don't know, but
yeah, no, I get what you mean. When you see the stills, it's like, okay, it's not it's not got the same money on it.
Yeah. It looks like a cheap mimic, and I mean, it may still be well written and well voiced, but
yeah.
But I assume it's different voices for a lot of the characters, because I don't know if you get the famous ones back, because.
Yeah, I don't think Big Hero 6 had too many famous ones from memory.
I can't remember.
No.
I can't remember who voiced what in that, but...
No, but I don't know. I don't know how much of the cast they've got coming back, I'll be honest. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. It's a great movie.
Surprisingly high.
Yeah, I don't know that it is, but it hit me good.
I like the sound of something hitting you good. My number 13 is one you've already had. A little bit too low for my liking, and that is the original Godzilla. The Japanese classic, obviously the analogy for the nuclear bomb and nuclear energy and all the rest of it. That is the big giant lizard. Like we said, it's very haunting, this first one. It actually plays with this element of horror as he's storming through the city. The beautiful black and white imagery. It's taken very seriously. And while I love goofy Godzilla, I love heroic Godzilla. I do love the 2014 American Godzilla as well. This is king for a reason. And so we already talked about it, so I don't want to go into it too much. But I love that big lizard. It's great. So
yeah, definitely.
Number 12.
My number 12 is something that we've already talked about quite extensively, so I won't talk about it too much, but this is Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
I loved it. What can I say? It's a big action sequence. You've got a guitarist with flames on the back of a big truck. That's just amazing.
Let's not forget the fact that behind the guitarist is a wall of amplifiers.
Yeah, that's cool as well.
Like more than you would get at an actual concert in a stadium. Like just this big wall of amplifiers behind them.
It always amuses me on on a concert stage where you see all the wall of amps. It's like none of those are plugged in.
Yeah, it just looks good.
It just looks good, but they're not plugged in. It's fine, but it's just a strange concept.
Yeah, because obviously they're plugged into a mixing desk so they can control the noise, which then goes to the actual speakers that are pumping it out.
Exactly, that are designed for this stadium.
Exactly. So I don't know. Especially since if he's actually playing through those, which in this
he has no eardrums left.
Yeah, exactly. He's deaf. He just is. Yeah. But hey, so we talked about that already. So my number 12, one we also talked about already, is Inception. I mentioned I love the ending. We mentioned the music. We mentioned the layered fun with the dreams within dreams and how that affects the action scenes. It feels so inventive. I do think there's a heartfelt story at the centre of it. You can poke holes in it, you can complain about too much exposition, but I think if you give yourself over to the movie, you have a very thrilling kind of ride with a good heart. I remember, not to spoil what the ending is, I won't, but I remember when that title appears at the end, I remember in the theatre people shouting at the screen, like, come on, but not because they were angry at it, because they really wanted to see what was going to happen.
It's the frustration of it's the cock tease of it, isn't it? It's like, well, that's it.
Kind of. It's like it's this intentional ambiguity, which me appreciating sort of smiled as it cut because I realised what it was doing.
But I understand the frustration in the moment.
Yeah,
I get it in that moment.
But this is the thing.
Really,
it wasn't judgmental. It was they cared. They made noise because they were so invested in what the outcome was.
They were like, wait, that's the end. Where's the rest? Where's more?
But no, and not even Where's More, because it's not that type of ending where there's a lot more to tell. It's a very simple thing. It's literally 3 more seconds.
Yeah,
Is all you're actually wanting here if you're desperate for the in concrete.
Yes.
But
your answer.
I love it though. No, I love the ambiguity. I'm the asshole walking out the theater who is hearing people go, "Oh man, couldn't have just shown this and this," and I would just sort of smiling to myself like, "Haha." I'm on Nolan's side here. I'm loving it.
No, I love that it doesn't answer things. The choice is there.
I'm actually of the opinion that the movie does answer it. It's just not as obvious as that. If you actually analyse the film, the answer is quite clearly there. Just analyse it a bit. But
I'm sure we'll cover this in detail at some point.
Yeah, no, I'm sure we will. I imagine a good discussion out of it. What's your 11?
My 11 is The Thing. And, the John Carpenter one. I feel like I don't really need to say that when it's number 11, but just in case.
The 2011 film with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I mean, I like her, sure, but not...
Yeah. I never watched that. I looked at it and went, you know what, I'm good. This is, so you've got a creature in a base. It's horrifying. It's glorious. I feel like you might have this still to talk about. And some great music. You're being very, very silent, looking at me, going, "Yeah."
Bum bum.
Yeah.
Bum bum.
That heartbeat theme that plays throughout. It really gives you a tone so much.
Yeah. And then there's one of those sci-fi instruments sort of coming after a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Thing's great. It's kind of like Waterworld, but in the snow.
Even you can't mean that. That doesn't even work.
I didn't mean any of them. Which one of those jokes do you think I meant?
No, but some of them at least there was a link. This one's just, you've just said it.
There's a snow wasteland around them. They're on their own.
No, this is not the same.
It's like an ocean of snow.
No, I'm not having that one. Yeah, that was cheap and it didn't count.
My number 11 is the original RoboCop. This is a movie that I liked as a kid for all the sort of surface level reasons of RoboCop being a RoboCop and violence and shit, and then I kind of drifted away from it for a little bit as I was getting more seriously into film, and then I watched it again eventually, and then realised just how good it was for lots of other actual good reasons on top of the action and the RoboCop and of course the music. The main theme of this is it's phenomenal. I actually think the music in this is overlooked because it's just, for some reason, but it's great, big brassy, heroic. It kind of almost contrasts the darker political satire that's going on throughout the whole thing, but then at the core you have this story about regaining your humanity within the system where you're made to feel like just a number. You're just a number on a list of names of you're there to be advertised to. I'll buy that for $1. You're there for all these reasons, and it's a man who's literally turned into a machine. He can't remember who he is because he's brutally, almost murdered essentially, and it is brutal. He is blown to smithereens, and it's about him remembering who the person is and who he was. And that's the heart of the story. It has a good human heart to it. It also has great violence, has a great political, social commentary to it. It's actually basically a masterpiece, and it's something that I didn't remember it being that good for a period of my life, maybe in my teens to maybe when I was about hitting 20, and then I went back and watched it and went, holy shit, this is actually fantastic. RoboCop's great. RoboCop's great, and it's quotable as shit as well. There's so many quotable things in this movie, and
that's fair. This is something that if you've been listening to the movie news recently, you'll have heard this story. I was going to watch this month, and for some reason in my mind, I was like, I'm sure we're getting a new version of this soon. I'll just hold off and watch it in the time. And we weren't when I said this to Pete, and we weren't. And then 2 weeks later, they were like, hey, I'm working on a script for a new one.
Yeah.
So I went, screw it, I'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait, and then we'll do the at least the trilogy, if not the trilogy plus remake when the new one finally comes out. If it
we'll see how busy we are.
If it formulates, that is, because it could go nowhere.
It could, yeah.
Yeah. What's your 10?
10. This is a Wall-E. This is the Pixar.
Wall-E.
Do you know what? When I put this on my list and I got to that, in my mind, I went, I'll leave a space for him to do that because I know he's going to do it. And then I forgot.
That's how he says his name.
It is. This is a fantastic movie. The first, half hour especially is obviously the best part of it. I still love all the stuff that it's doing after that. Looking at what humanity has become. It's great sci-fi stuff packaged in a Pixar masterpiece. But that first half hour where it's silent and you've just got Wally on Earth is something special in cinema, in my opinion.
It's very good. I do kind of wish that it was that first half for the whole thing.
No, I agree. Like, that would be, if it was that, it would be even higher. Don't get me wrong. But I still love all the stuff it's doing with.
It's a number 10.
I know. That's my point. That's how much I love that first half. But I still really like that second half of stuff.
I think if we go to 100, you see me put this in somewhere. I don't think I quite like it enough to put it in the top. I think I liked it more at the time than I do now.
That's fair.
But I still quite like it quite a bit, of course. It's still very good. And like I said,
I watched it not so long ago. It really held up for me.
First half hour, extremely good. Rest of it, solid, but not as special as maybe what I'd say. My number 10 is District 9. Which you had
higher than where I had it.
Yeah, you had it ages ago.
This happened on the 2000s list as well.
Yeah, it did. District 9. I love the action. I love where it goes in the end. I love the character turn. I love that it goes in a direction that I didn't necessarily think it was going to when I started. Because I had the benefit of watching this without even seeing a trailer. I just heard it had buzz. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know what it looked like. And by the way, it's a low budget movie with fantastic visual effects. Like that's the one thing that even in Blomkamp's worst, the one thing you cannot dispute is how good the effects typically look. He has this kind of urban, gritty science fiction, futuristic style. They
have a very especially in this movie. They're a bit rough around the edges, but they're very unique. It's not like what I'd expect from with effects, but it works for what it is.
Yeah, and I love his gritty kind of like near future sci-fi style that he does. This is his best film, absolutely, no question. It's got an emotional core that I really like. Obviously, your boy Sharito Copley, he's very good. This is where I discovered him, obviously, because everyone kind of discovered him with this one. He's great. It's a unique setting because it's in South Africa, or Johannesburg specifically, and it's great. I love it. All the action at the end, the fist pumping stuff. There's really good music again, and again, social commentary. It's got a message. It's about things.
Yeah.
And the main character kind of has that journey where at first he's part of the problem, and by the end he kind of realizes that and becomes something better. But to do that, he has to kind of be kind of forced out of his comfort zone first. So
yeah, it's a solid movie. No arguing with that.
What's your 9?
My 9. I'm just gonna say for the record here, my top 10's kind of boring and predictable for the most part. I feel like I've had some reasonable, interesting picks throughout here or there. You haven't argued with me on too many things.
So so what number's Waterworld then? That's the real question.
Minus 3,000. No, it's not quite that bad.
That'd be high though, because that's higher than number 1 because you keep going that direction.
Balls. 3,000.
So you could go 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. So
yeah. I didn't think that through, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, my number 9. This is The Martian. Which, yeah, I get this might seem high, but I rewatched it not so long ago, and man, I forgot how much I loved it. It's so excellently paced. It's carried by Damon and the dialogue is just incredible. The script work is fantastic, and the direction is very good. It's very good direction. It's that kind of goes without saying though, but I think it's the script that really makes this movie special, and it takes ideas that it's obviously it's based on a book which I've read, and it takes ideas and it improves them, and it's one of those rare cases of it knows how to adapt. You know how sometimes things that work on a page just don't work on a screen. It knew how to change things to keep the core idea of something but make it work in the medium, and that I appreciate it for that even more. And it's also very funny. which I like.
It is pretty funny. It is very good. I love The Martian a lot. It didn't quite make my list, but I did like it a lot. It's not quite as good as, say, Back to the Future Part 2. Come on, I appreciate that joke. Even if, like...
No, I know. I get it. I
Come
get
on.
it. I know. Tell me that is your number 9.
Oh, it's not. No. No.
Oh,
No, I
man,
was just cracking a joke.
I mean, I got the joke, but I was hoping that you'd lined it up perfectly.
No. That was a Mr. Robot joke for anyone who didn't get that. But no, The Martian's great. I like it a lot. I think the only thing The Martian suffers from is that absolutely zero surprising things or turns happen throughout the entire film. It plays out exactly like you think it's going to play out.
Oh, it does, yeah.
The entire time. In this case, though, I like that journey well enough that I'm on board. And Matt Damon's great. And there's other like guest characters who are like on Earth at NASA or whatever to kind of try to figure problems out and solve things and whatnot. But no, it is a movie that I'll revisit every so often, and I think it's definitely Ridley Scott's best movie in a while.
Since Gladiator?
Well, no, man, there's a couple of good movies in the 2000s. Black Hawk Down's quite good. Matchstick Men was a really interesting little movie.
Oh, I wasn't too hot on Black Hawk Down.
Oh well, you know, opinions.
It's not bad, but
hey, so yeah. My number 9 is The Thing. Which you already talked about, but what you didn't hit on, and this baffles me, is this is maybe the best film about paranoia ever made, because that's what it is. Because the whole conceit of this film is that the thing, the alien, can shapeshift or take over a body. So the idea that one of the people they know in this like tight knit team could be the thing. So they start to suspect each other, and it becomes a movie about that. And there's some great practical effects that are, very inventive. And like I say, a cool bottle setting in this like one little research base in the middle of, was it the Arctic, the Antarctic?
Probably Arctic Circle sounds right.
I can never remember which one it is, but
they're all the same to me. They're all cold and snowy.
Why are you saying all? Both? There's just two.
There is, but I'm just grouping those ends of the Earths. They're all cold and snowy everywhere in those regions.
You get different animals though, in the two of them.
You do.
So there's a bit of
I can't remember
difference.
which one's which. I know penguins are only at one of them, aren't they?
I believe so.
Can't remember which one though, but I know they're only at one of them.
I believe. Which one's the Fortress of Solitude usually on?
I'm not sure actually.
I want to say the North, but
See, the problem is I can't remember which is which in terms of Arctic and Antarctic.
Oh, Arctic is North and Antarctic is South.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. In that case, I'll say I think it's in the North.
Yeah. Do you know what the thing is? My reasoning for that is that he basically gets there on foot in Superman the movie, and the North Pole's much closer to him, I think, in terms of... Because I feel like you can go up to Canada, and then you can sort of...
Make your way up from there. No, there's a logic.
They can swim from there. Not that it looks like he was swimming in that movie, but he must have done. Because he just kind of walked there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, I don't know why we're talking about this. But the thing is really goddamn good. It's got a really great ending. Really, really kind of tense, and it's not a film with a happy, cheery, everything's tied neat in a bow. And it's a movie about figuring things out. In fact, a board game for The Thing came out this past year, and I saw a game of it being played, and it looked like a lot of fun.
Really?
Yeah. And it has those mechanics where one of you might be the thing, but you don't know who it is, but you all have to kind of work together to try and like solve the problems to like...
and the person who's the thing has got to not be caught out.
Yeah, they've got to try and sabotage things without making it obvious. So no, it's good stuff. But no, movie is solid. It is a sci-fi horror classic for a goddamn reason. So
yeah,
The Thing.
Yeah, so that's number 8. Okay, back into boring territory for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is Star Wars: Force Awakens. Yeah. See, you know they're going to be Star Warses, but you don't know which order.
If I care.
Yeah, all right, fine. Screw you. No, this is a great introduction to the new trilogy. It sets up your new characters who are pretty much all likable from the off. It's got a great pace to it. It's got a fantastic new Star Wars Williams score, which, I mean, just hearing some of those, the Rey's theme in particular is a personal highlight, bringing in some of his Harry Potter influences, actually, which is a really nice thing. A return to practical effects for the moment. Not all of it, obviously. There's CG in there as well. And there's maybe one or two weaker spots of CG, like the Rathtas, I will concede. They don't look great. And that section is probably the only section that's, maybe not the best.
I like Force Awakens. I didn't like it enough to put it on my list, but Force Awakens, I think, is a solid attempt to kind of try to recapture the magic of what Star Wars was. And
this is one of those where, as well, the atmosphere of seeing this, opening night, midnight with all the fans, that's an atmosphere for that I don't know if it'll ever be matched for me. Okay. Because it's such a phenomenon of the timing of it that I don't know if it can get matched.
Yeah, I don't know what would create that.
It's something unique, that tone in the room.
I wouldn't say it'll never happen again. It's possible. If something like
it is, but I just don't know what it would be.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Like
it is.
I don't know. Let's say Whedon makes a Buffy movie in a few years' time,
sure. But it's a rare feeling whenever it does happen.
Oh, it is. It is. My number 8 is Terminator 2: Judgment Day. We talked about sequels, of course, and how Cameron's very good at them. This, obviously, it takes Terminator, makes him the good guy. He's been reprogrammed, so there's a lot of talk about, robots being able to learn humanity. Arguably better than we can to an extent once he actually learns. Sarah Connor is a well-developed character who's turned into the completely evolved version of herself. You have a kid who's not annoying, which is always a great plus, and you have the idea of the future. Maybe we can change it. Maybe maybe all of this is for something for us to try and stop. That's something that kind of comes in. But for the time, you've got these groundbreaking effects that kind of wowed everyone, and you can poke fun at the idea of a liquid metal machine.
You could.
It's kind of a silly idea, but no. But it's great, and it took the fantastic main theme, did a great score again out of it, but with a new twist on it, and it's a surprisingly deep film if you really stop and enjoy it. And so you already spoke about it, so that's Terminator 2.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So speaking of Cameron sequels, number 7 for me is Aliens, emphasizing the S there on the end. And as we were saying with that being a masterclass in sequel making, the same applies here. What?
I just thought, you know how in Avatar 2 he said he's going to explode the water, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it'll be like Waterworld. I just thought of what the poster's going to be.
Go on.
I mean, you'll see the floating islands will be all the water, right? And then the tagline at the top will just be, "This time it's water."
Oh God, I hope so. Oh, I would give him points for doing that. I really would.
If you don't get that joke, it's because the poster for Aliens and even the trailer, the big thing was, "This time it's war." That was the big selling point for it.
Yeah, and so that's the thing we're talking about. Okay, how do you do sequels without just redoing things? Just do something completely different. Essentially, you go, all right, okay, that last movie was this thing. Let's just do an action movie, an action war movie, essentially. And it's a masterpiece at doing that. It really is. Honestly, I think between this and Alien is kind of just taste for a lot of people. It's kind of which type of movie do you prefer? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know which one you prefer. I think we'll find out soon, I'm sure.
Let's move on to my number 7, which is Moon. 2009, Sam Rockwell is a film in which he's working on this base on the moon by himself, but then one day he discovers a clone of himself, and that leads to a whole host of discoveries. And sort of, again, it's a very character-driven film where you get to see the differences between him and the clone, because the clone was cloned at an earlier part in his life, and he's not went through certain experiences yet. And there's this comparison. He's obviously it's a fantastic showcase of acting for him, because it's his finest work in my opinion.
It's
great. It's full of subtleties. It's got a fantastic score by Clint Mansell.
Yeah, a composer I love, and this might be his best.
There's one particular moment with a phone call, and then the music that plays there, the shot that ends the scene with, is perfection. This is Duncan Jones coming out the gate with a masterpiece, and he did a really good movie with source code, and then he wasted like 6 years of his life on Warcraft.
Yeah, but we've got hope.
Yeah, Mute's coming. Mute's coming this month, February. We're looking forward to it.
I can't remember the exact date, but it's not long.
23rd, I think it was, if I remember correctly, but around then, if not.
Either way, we will be watching it.
Yeah,
expect reviews.
Expect it. Yeah, I'm so excited. But no, this is great. And I expect that will not be the last I hear about it. So, what's your number 6, Connor?
My number 6 is going to make you angry, because it's another Star Wars movie. It's The Last Jedi.
Of course it is.
Yeah, no, I love it. I really do. And especially the ending. I mean, I don't have a problem with a lot of the things some people do. I appreciate, you don't like the way they split up the characters. I see that as a valid thing, but I do think that is completely taste-based. For me, that's not a problem. I know a lot of people have leaps in the logic for them, but I don't see it. And the ending of this is... it had me blubbering in the cinema. It just did. Multiple times.
Blubbering was not the noise I was making as the film finished, I'll tell you that right now.
I know. And so what? If you want to see my full opinion on The Last Jedi, you can go and watch our very, very long review that we did.
Yep. Yeah, but my opinion is well known. I think whereas Force Awakens introduced me to all these new characters, and I loved all of them. Every new character this movie introduced, I hated. Well, not hated, but they just all felt pointless. I didn't understand the purpose. I feel like everything that happens, like people explain, you can logically try and explain a lot of the plot choices, but they're all just justifications rather than actually telling me why on a pacing or on a thematic level or on a momentum level why they're good choices. The big one that always comes up is the Poe and Diane. What was her name?
Holdo was her name in this movie.
That pointless character who, right, they're the whole thing where she won't tell him what the plan is, and that kind of drives and creates an entire subplot and things that go on, right? Because you can logically tell me, yes, she's a superior officer, she shouldn't have to tell him. That makes sense. I'm not disputing that. But as a viewer watching this movie, that not only does it create an entire subplot that I hated, not only does it feel like it's just there to create the entire conflict for the middle chunk of the movie, it's frustrating as hell. It makes her an even more annoying version of when you're watching Breaking Bad and you get annoyed at Skylar for being in Walter's way. That's what it feels like.
I get it.
It's infuriating.
I get it.
And I love Laura Dern. I love her. She's great. She's in Jurassic Park. She's in Twin Peaks. Blue Velvet. That woman does great things. And
she did great things here.
I wanted to rip off that stupid haircut when I was watching this.
You're not a fan of the purple.
That stupid hair, and then she's in this frock instead of
flowing robes. Thank you.
Instead of looking like she's actually meant to be there and what everyone else is wearing. Which people tell me, the novel that ties in beforehand explained all that. I don't give a shit.
I give a shit. I read all the novels. This is why this movie works so well for me.
Oh, God.
And I appreciate, that there are things that I have from exterior sources that improve the movie. That is a fact. But it doesn't change how much I love it. It's staying up here. It's a great movie. I'm going to watch it a lot over my life, and I can't wait to watch it again when I get it at home.
I never want to see it again. And we've already reviewed it, so you can't even talk me into it for a review.
No, I can't. So, I'm still trying to talk you into doing Han Solo, which God knows what's going on with that.
Yeah, we'll see. If that makes me, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've not disputed that.
If you strongly disagreed that it was going to make me against my opinion, I'd be like, let's put a wager on it. Not of money, just of something stupid.
I don't know exactly when the Super Bowl is because I don't follow it. If it's before or after this will go public, I think that's when we'll know for certain.
It's actually before this goes public, I think.
Okay, if there was a trailer in the Super Bowl, we're getting it in May. If not, then I don't know when. Probably December again.
Ah, dear. Anyway, so that was your number 6.
Yes.
My number 6 is The Terminator. And you were all, oh, this might be controversial earlier. And I'm like, what?
No, I feel like it was controversial because every time I say, "Oh, the Terminator is better than the second one," people go, "Screw you! No, you're not. No, it's not. The second one's better." Everyone tells me that.
Yeah, I don't know where this is coming from. I think it's valid to have either one, and honestly, I probably flip flop depending on my mood as to which one's higher. They're very close. Like 8 and 6 were my Terminator 1 and 2s.
I mean, they were 21 and 17 for me, so it's not a million miles apart either way.
Yeah, very very close. And like we said, ask us again in a week. Our orders will probably shifted a little bit, but the Terminator, again, it's one I watched as a child quite a bit.
Yeah,
it's a science fiction film. It's a killer cyborg. He's hunting down. And it's something I didn't realise till later that this might have actually be what inspired my love of a lot of horror movies and slasher movies. This idea of the unstoppable killing machine, whether it's literal or not. I think that may have contributed to that.
At many points, this is almost a slasher movie.
Oh, yeah, almost. But obviously it has all this deep mythology to go along with it, this idea of the future. And what's funny is I think actually over time I've come to appreciate the music in Terminator 1 a little bit more. I think I like it a bit more.
It's better.
I don't know if I'd say it's better, but it's just the sci-fi kind of... It's
got more intricacies and subtleties to it.
And synth to it. I think the scores both suit their movies, though. This is not a knock on the score for Terminator 2.
The second one it's bigger, it's more bombastic, it fits its movie, don't get me wrong, but I prefer the first one.
But there's a lot of little things in there that I love about it. And I think the growth of Sarah Connor, Kyle Reese as a character, all of it works, and it's got some thrilling sequences. Terminator is an absolute goddamn masterpiece. That said, I also think Terminator 2 is a goddamn masterpiece. So,
That's fair. And honestly, when you got to Terminator 2 and I was like, shit, you haven't said Terminator. You agree with me. I was shocked because I was just fully expecting to have to fight. I really was.
What's your number 5?
Pleasant surprise. My number 5 is... Yeah.
By the way, just relating to both of them with the music, that main theme is one of the best main movie themes of all time. Right, what's your number 5?
That's fair. My number 5 is Moon. So not too far off where you had it. It's a masterpiece. It's amazing. It's why I'm so excited for Mute, as we were just kind of just saying. We were literally just saying this like 3-4 minutes ago. So there's only so much to say now. It's great. Let's carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. My number 4, and you've not said this yet.
That was 5.
Oh, sorry, my number 5, sorry.
Yeah, don't jump the gun.
I almost skipped one there. It's a good job you jumped in before I said what it was. My number 5, you've also not said this, actually, is 2001: A Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick is a film about scientists getting into space because there's a signal, that they found this monolith on the moon, and it's pointing to a signal coming from somewhere beyond Jupiter.
Yeah. So
they get in a ship and they go, and everyone remembers, there's the HAL, the computer that goes nuts and tries to kill them. Yeah, that's a part of the movie. And it fits into the themes of the movie, but that's not the core plot. I
feel like in a lesser movie, that's your whole thing.
Yeah, which would be fine. That could be a great movie on its own.
Yeah.
But and this is a movie, you have to interpret it, you have to think about it after you've watched it. What does it mean? There's some psychedelic stuff towards the end. The final shot is beautiful. The music, of course, that's playing is, this iconic... you'll know the name of it, probably.
Which piece was it? I can't
remember.
Oh, Thus Spake Zarathustra.
That one. But, Ric Flair's entrance theme, for anyone who gets that instead.
Straight in my head.
That's what he comes out to. He comes to the ring, with that playing.
Cool. I get it. I get the concept, but until about a week ago when I brought him up, I had no idea who Ric Flair was.
But that's playing, and it's this out of not out of nowhere, but there's this ridiculous image, but it's beautiful, and the music's playing. The whole thing works, and you think about it, and it's got stuff to say. It's philosophical science fiction. It's full of beautiful, long, slow moving shots. There's stuff where the astronauts running and the spinning part of the ship, and you're just sort of following them, and all I can think of is the insane set they had to build to make this.
Oh, I know. It looks incredible. The first time I saw this, was it was aired in a film festival.
Oh,
So it was on a huge screen. Like it wasn't even like a regular cinema screen. It was, like one of the big special ones. And that was a pretty special viewing. I'm not gonna lie. That was something to behold, that sight in that size.
it's great. And we mentioned earlier on that the 2014 Godzilla uses some of the music, the Monolith kind of theme, if you will. And it's impressive that this movie gave that music. I mean, it has a good eerie quality to it anyway, but that made it like iconic. It gave it this kind of like, what is this thing? What
It did the same with the other piece that you're referring to that you can't say the name of. That where now you want to do something jokey in space and you want to go, hey, look, we're in space. You play that piece of music.
But when you watch it in 2001, it doesn't feel jokey. It works.
Oh, it doesn't. No.
It feels like it's doing exactly the intended effect. It feels
so
grandiose.
Dramatic. Yeah.
But the eerie thing, and why it works so well for Godzilla as well, is that it's the idea that it's something beyond our comprehension.
It's the unknown. Yeah.
That's what it is. But more than unknown, it feels almost biblical. Like it's something. Not only do we not understand it, but it's something important that we don't understand.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. I think it's Stanley Kubrick's best film, probably. It's a fight. Don't get me wrong. The guy made like insanely great films, but
it's up there. That's for sure. Because I'll just jump in here. This is my number 4. So,
oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason I'm just jumping right in with all of this, because it's mine here.
Yeah. Great. Are you done?
I think you're fine. What's your 4?
My number 4 is Alien. And this, masterpiece. We keep saying that a lot, but again, we're on the top 10. So I mean, arguably, of course, we think these are all masterpieces because
there's a reason they're top 10s.
This is where they are. Alien is incredibly atmospheric. It's a film that, as I've grown up and I've seen it more and more as I've gotten older, every time I watch it, I appreciate it more and how well crafted it is, how high quality the production design is, the sets, the ships, the creature itself, the filmmaking, the suspense, the characters. Well, they're not super deep because they are by their nature kind of almost slasher movie characters because they're there to be picked off one by one. But there's just enough that the actors do enough with the performances that you feel like you get to know them all a little bit before they go. And I love that Ripley, and it's not a spoiler to say that she's the final girl who survives because she's the star of the Alien franchise, but at the start of the movie, if you watch this without knowing anything about the Alien franchise, you wouldn't necessarily assume that she's the main character, or that she's the one who's going to survive at the end.
She's just kind of there on the ship.
Yeah. I love that. I love the tone, the music. Again, it's one of those scores that I'd never sit and listen to on its own, but it's fantastic.
Such a fantastic piece of mood and atmosphere. It really is. This is one that I was lucky enough to see in the cinema on Halloween one year, and that was fantastic.
Oh man, what I wouldn't give for a double bill of Alien and Aliens.
That was it. Double bill of those two on Halloween, like 4 or 5 years ago now.
I need to do it someday, because the sort of things that will always come back and get special screenings at some point. It's something that I do have to do because holy crap. Because unfortunately, the only stuff in the franchise that I've got to see in the theater is
shit ones.
I mean, the last 2. I mean, Prometheus isn't terrible, but it's not good.
Arguably better than 3 or 4, depending on tastes.
Depending on taste, but Covenant, Jesus Christ.
Do you know what the worst part about Covenant is? I don't even hate it as a movie, but it's a bad Alien movie.
I'll do the fingering. What's your number 3?
That's Alien, sorry.
Alright, your number 3 is Alien.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add? Creature design being authentic, the alien ship looking great.
Course. I mean, the creature itself is iconic, like truly iconic, and it looks like nothing else until everyone tried to copy it.
Yeah, I love how lived in the world feels. It feels like grimy, it feels used, it feels, you know, it's the sort of thing that I make fun of in the Star Wars prequels, how everything just feels shiny and like...
Oh no, yeah, valid things to make fun of, don't get me wrong.
But whereas this is like... It feels so lived in. The whole idea is that they're truckers in space. This is just like they're just hauling freight. They're not like
they're nothing special.
They're not astronauts.
They're low on the food chain.
They're not scientists or anything like that. They're the grunts, just transporting stuff.
And I think that's why it works so well, because when shit goes wrong, they're like, well, we're not trained to deal with any of this
Yeah,
bollocks.
like you have one guy who has some. I think it's just like standard that they have someone who can do a bit of medical stuff in the ship, and they're trying to figure things out. And obviously, you'll be introduced to the idea of an android, and it really brings these other things into question. But no, Alien's great. So that's your number 3.
That was Alien. Remember, we just said this.
Yeah.
It's your number 3 now.
So I'm just clarifying that before I say mine. My number 3, and its rightful place, and it absolutely should be on this list, is Back to the Future. Hang your head in shame. Hang your head in shame. Shut up. No, you don't get to speak. You had your head. Hang your head in shame. Back to the Future, another movie I grew up with. It is the movie that introduced the idea of time travel to me, and it works in so many ways. It has a set of rules. One of the things the filmmakers talked about a lot in the extras and the commentaries and whatnot is how they had this like idea for, because whenever before this, typically with time travel, you'd also like appear somewhere else. You'd move in space as well as time, and they're like, no, you appear at the exact place. Now, admittedly, people poke holes in this with like, yeah, but the Earth's moving technically, so I've headcanoned that as just being like, oh, it's you move in proximity to the core of the Earth.
Relative space is the term, and clearly, let's get this out of the way. This is not on my list. It's not appearing in these top couple of slots. I would never pick fault with that particular issue.
Oh, sure.
I don't give a shit.
Or any other issue, because there's no issues. It's Back to the Future. Lovable characters, Marty and Doc, fantastic. The idea that his mum's into him and he's trying to, they can't just get... I mean, even in the 80s when he leaves, plutonium's hard to come by. But in the 50s when they go back, and they had the whole idea that he's going to the previous generation... Because I think there's a moment where you get this time travel, you've got the fancy car, which looks cool, one of my favourite movie cars, but you go back and then you get that moment where he sees his dad as his age, and you're like, that's what this movie's doing, that's what the point of this movie is. It's going to explore this fun stuff, and it's full of delightful moments. This is one that I actually got to see in the theatre when they re-released it however many years ago. Great experience doing that. And it's all about trying to solve the problem, but also making sure he doesn't get erased from history because he's accidentally stopped his mother and dad from hooking up. So he's trying to fix that. Full of great sequences. Biff's a great antagonist. You got the skateboard scene. You got the big climax of them trying to fix everything, and then that lingering thing over your head where you think someone's in danger when he gets back. It's the whole thing. I love it. It's Back to the Future is the movie where I don't have the test movie where if I'm like I might date someone and like if they tell me they don't like a movie or they like a movie that's bad, that's the line. I don't really have that. What you
do is you make them love the movie.
That sounds like you're beating someone into submission.
Not forcing them to it, but you're like no, because they'll go, all right, I'll watch it for you, and then over time they'll come around and be like, you know what, I love this movie.
That's conditioning. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is that I don't have a line. I don't have a harsh line. That's an unrealistic thing. You don't want to be one of those assholes who has all these demands. However, I do think that if you tell me as a person that you don't like Back to the Future, there's something lesser about you as a human being in my eyes. I can't help but feel that way. And
I just know at this point I feel the need to say I never said I didn't like this movie.
I'm not even talking about you.
But before the audience assumes that you might be.
I have said this about Back to the Future before. It's not my favourite film. It's up high, obviously, right? But it's not my favourite. But for some reason, there's something about the qualities of Back to the Future that's just so lovable that I don't understand you as a human being if you don't like it. I'm not saying I'd hate you for it, but I'd be confuddled. I'd be confused. I would not understand you.
Can I get in a couple of words about it?
Sure.
I think it's a very good movie. I think, honestly, I saw it too late. I didn't see this as a kid. It had no impact on me, obviously, at that point. So I've got nothing to look back on. I didn't see this till I was about 20, give or take. I don't know. 19. I've lost track. It's a very good movie. I'm not disputing that. It's not too far off my top 50. It's probably around 60-ish. I just don't love it. It just doesn't resonate with me the same way it does everyone else.
What's your number 2?
Star Wars.
Which one?
Just Star Wars. A New
Oh,
Hope.
right, okay. Alright.
No, I mean, I was not actually being facetious at that one. That was the
Alright, okay.
answer.
Okay.
No, I love this movie. This is one of the first movies I remember seeing. Obviously, I mentioned earlier how Phantom Menace was the first thing I saw in the cinemas, and I'd already worn out my VHS copies of the original trilogy. This one in particular was beaten and battered, shall we say, skipping and all sorts, as people these days will not understand that we had to do this with VHSs.
Yeah, youngins.
Yeah, you don't know. But oh man, the scene as well, the binary sunset of Luke looking out and the music swelling up. That there is my favorite moment in cinema. It just gets me every time. That is you could just play that moment out of context, and I will start welling up. It just will happen. It gets me no matter what.
I've never welled up at Star Wars. I don't know what to tell you. I talked about that already, though. So
You did, yeah.
So moving on to my number 2. Serenity.
Oh, I'm shocked. I genuinely thought this was going to be number 1.
Hey! It was my number 1 in 2000s. We all know that. But I'm not that delusional to put it at the top spot, like, of all time, or in this case, the sci-fi. I talk about, obviously, this was the number 1 in 2000s, so if you watch that, you heard me gush about it. I'll do it one more time.
Oh, I'm sure this will be difficult.
This was, like Connor said earlier, and I think the first part, was it earlier this part? I don't know. Whatever you said it.
It was earlier this part.
This was a conclusion to something that, at the time, I mean, now, like, things coming back, like, on Netflix and stuff's kind of all the rage.
It's kind of like, how have we not got more of this? Oh.
But this was like, you thought it was over, and you didn't think you were going to get any more of it. You thought your story was just going to be left unfinished, and then you got the movie. And what's fantastic about it in this particular case is that it oddly thematically works with the story of the show and the movie.
It does. Just keep on moving.
Still flying. Like, you can't take that from me. There's so many meta lines in the movie where it almost sounds like Whedon was just writing about what he felt about his.
It's like, screw
movie.
you. I'm making this. This exists.
Yeah. Just so many of them. Just the phrase "you can't stop the signal." Like, if the people really care, you can't stop it. Like that idea. And then there's some from the end as well. I don't want to spoil, but you got that. But even just the idea that in the story, there was this war, and like Mal and the Independents lost the war to the Evil Alliance, and he was like lost as a human being because his side surrendered. He didn't want to surrender, but his side did. Like, it was from the top down. They surrendered and gave up, and he was lost and didn't know what to do with himself. And then one day he found a ship and he found a new purpose. And it was, that's almost like, we lost the show, but we got the movie. Like, we found our serenity, literally. So there's a really nice correlation to the actual plot as well, which is really cool. On top of the fact that I love these characters, on top of the fact that I cared about this story, on top of the fact that you really believed at a certain point that any of them could die. We didn't actually convince you that he might pull a wild bunch and kill them all.
Yeah, it's true. And I assume you saw this in the cinema.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Religious experience.
Yeah, I imagine for you, this is how I mentioned the experience of seeing Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine it was a similar feeling in the room of, this is something special. This is something you never expected, but here you are.
It was special. It was, and unlike yours though, I saw this and I was like the only person in the room, which is sadly part of why there's not any more of Firefly and Serenity.
Yeah.
But it almost added to it that it was just me.
It's more poignant, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was just like, this was made just for me somehow, some way this happened.
No,
and
I get it.
You got, I laughed, I cried, all of it, and yeah, and you say you tear up at the twin sunset.
No, I know.
The speech at the end, Mal's speech in the final scene, it never doesn't make me tear up. Always, every time.
Joe, I obviously I had this movie relatively high. It was in my top 20. That's still pretty damn good. It's a movie that I can't wait to rewatch, but every time I go to rewatch it, I'm like, no, I'll wait and do a watch through of the whole series, because I feel like I can't just watch it on its own. I have to watch it at the end of the season.
Like, that's the thing. People who will disagree with this placement will say, yeah, but it's not a standalone movie, and you're right, it's not. But I don't care. I love it too much that I don't give a shit if it doesn't work on its own. Because if you say to me, well, but I have to watch the series, well, yeah, watch the series. It's great.
No, that's the thing. But I agree. You should always watch the series before watching it. The problem is for me, I always have to I have to find that extra time to do that, and it means I don't watch it as much as I'd want to.
Yeah, yeah. But
not a fault against it, though, of course. Just the amount I get to watch it is ruined.
Honestly, Firefly and Serenity are the sort of thing, because it's so short, it's kind of primed for when we have a quieter summer, and we want an already cancelled that'll last a couple months.
Yeah,
and then end it with Serenity.
That should line really nicely as one a week over a summer.
Yeah, it's 14 episodes in a movie, so it's just 3 months or so. Yeah,
give or take.
Easy. So that's my number 2. What's your number 1? Oh, let me guess.
Look, I've got a really nice segue worked in from what you were just saying. Can I just...
Hold on, I want to point out, when I said which one, when he said his number 2 was Star Wars, I wasn't meaning because I was like, oh, which one? I knew there's 2 left.
Yeah,
and I know what number 1 and 2 are going to be. It's just a case of which one. So, I don't know why I said that, though. I kind of know. I always knew what this number 1 was going to be. But...
I know. Look, there's a reason. It's my favourite movie of all time, so I'm not disputing that. Of course, it's going to top my sci-fi list. But I had a really nice segue lined up until you went on this tirade of you were saying how, Serenity, it doesn't function on its own, but you love it anyway. It's just that good. And to me, that's The Empire Strikes Back. Ultimately, it doesn't work on its own. You have to have watched the movie before it to really get, for it to really work. Ultimately, its conclusion is more going, hey, come back. We've got more for you next time. But none of that matters because it's so perfect in everything that it does, in my opinion.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I know.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I know, but not just for you, for the audience. Don't give me shit for this, people.
I'm not going to fight you on Empire Strikes Back. I don't love it as much, but I'm not going to fight you on it. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, I know. And I will.
Boba Fett's a chump, but other than that,
he's not a chump in this one.
Yeah, I know, but he created. This was his first movie, right? And then the fan base spawned from this movie, so I naturally just have to hate Boba Fett in this. He's frozen. I've actually broken him. That's just great. Back in a second, folks. Oh, look, he's back.
It's magic. Who'd have thought? Bloody technology, screwing me over. No, where was I? Ranting about why I love Empire.
I think we're done, right? Everyone agree he was done?
Was I? Was I done? That doesn't sound right.
Favorite Star Wars movie?
You were bashing on Boba Fett. And I was. Go on.
You like Star Wars, you like the Yoda, you like Luke Stranding, you like Han and Leia, I Love You, I Know. Oh, classic. Right.
I actually remembered my point that I was going to make before you brought up Boba Fett.
Okay, go on.
You said, there's nothing technically wrong with this. One of your one of your complaints that we went through in the review of The Last Jedi was the space physics making no sense when they were dropping the bombs. You made a big point out of this.
Oh yeah, that played really silly to me when I saw Last Jedi.
Sorry, in this movie they go inside a giant worm on an asteroid and then just go out in it, even though if they don't think they're in a worm, they're just out on an asteroid with no atmosphere, and you have no problem with that.
That's a fair point.
And again, I'm not saying it makes sense. It's its own rules. It's not really our space in these movies. It's not. Clearly, it doesn't play by our space rules. But, I just don't understand people getting mad about it now.
That said, I would cross the line at someone just walking outside in space.
Okay.
I mean, this is essentially what's happening here, but at least it's not immediately obvious because they're inside. I mean, I'll just assume that this beast's mouth seals properly, so they're okay.
Sure, but they think they're just going out into a cave.
That's true.
From a character, it makes no sense.
I mean, I guess you can just say C-3PO or someone did a little reading before they opened the door and made sure it was
it's safe. Yeah,
breathable.
And it's the thing. I know these things are things that you can pick holes in. I don't care.
But if someone just walked outside onto a ship without a suit, I'd be like, you know what? No, you're crossing the line. I don't care. This is Superman 4 levels of shit. No, we're not doing this.
No, that's fair. But this is one of those. Every time I watch this, I genuinely find new things that I go, ooh, that's different. Something there. There's deeper meaning to that. Last time I watched it, I noticed something, a little lighting effect that I'd never noticed before, and I've seen this movie literally more times than I can count. And I was like, it was like, that's fantastic. I love what that did there, and it gets me. And then of course you have Cloud City, Luke and Vader, their face off, the revelations. It all lands. It's so good.
What?
It's the movie I will just if I don't know what to do on a day off, I'm like I just want to watch a movie. This is what I'm going to put on.
Well, luckily, when we do the RoboCop movies, you can look forward to the even superior sequel by the director Evan Kirshner, who directed RoboCop 2. So you can look forward to that. That's right. The second RoboCop is from the director of The Empire Strikes Back.
That's fine. Kirshner's cool. RoboCop 2 is probably a masterpiece.
I mean, I like it, but it's not as good as the first one. The first one is fantastic, but
I'm not.
obviously, we'll see what you think when we get there. Anyway, so my number one, if we're finally ready to do this and end this. This has been even longer than the first part. The first part was 90 minutes. This one's...
it just dawned on me. I think I know what this is, but carry on.
It's getting dangerously close to a 2-hour mark here.
I think I might have insulted you earlier when I suggested what place this might have been at, when I thought it might have been somewhere else. If it's what I think it is.
My number one is Aliens.
Okay, moving on then.
You thought Back to the Future Part 2 was my number one?
I thought you might have thrown a curveball.
I mean, I love it, but not above the first one.
I really thought you might have curveballed me.
Did you think Aliens just wasn't going to appear?
I'll be honest. That technical issue we had just kind of scrambled my brain, and I kind of forgot everything we've just done for the last hour and 3.
So, Aliens, which is actually this was an early episode in Flux as well. Clearly, we've done a lot of sci-fi movies in Flux over the last year.
What can we say? We like sci-fi.
First one, slow, haunted house. Not actually haunted, but in the sense that
that's how it plays as a movie.
Confined space, yeah. Picking off people one by one. This, as I said, this time it's war. You have Ripley coming in with a team of Marines, and they go to combat. And Ripley herself gets stronger over the movie, learns to fight, and it's all about her taking her fear and everything she's lost, and then by the end of the movie, standing up and saying, "I'm not scared of you, you assholes," and fighting back. It's all about her finding her strength. It's all about her becoming, a mother figure, which is something she loses. At least if you watch the proper longer cut. If you watch the theatrical cut, then not so much. But then be the breaks. And again, fantastic effects. This time you had Stan Winston doing the designs. Maybe not as unique, but obviously it's based on Giger's work, so it has his Queen's fantastic. Has some of the best action scenes of a movie. It still has horror moments. It still has. There's a moment. I said this in the review, I think, when we did this like a year ago. But there's a moment when they're getting back into the I can't remember what the car's called, but the car. And they're shutting the door. And there's a moment where an alien jumps through the door. And I know it's coming every time, but no matter what, I always kind of jump.
There's a few movies that get me with that, like that same trick where one's in The Dark Knight, with the fake Batman swings against the window.
Yeah, there's something
every time. I know it's there, but I jump every time.
It's just where it's placed. Somehow it's just offbeat enough that you even though you know it's coming, your body's just not quite ready for it because it's
every time. It's almost annoying, but it gets me.
It's kind of like in music when you have what's the phrase for it when you put something offbeat?
Syncopated.
Was it syncopated? Clearly, I've forgotten a lot of my music terminology from high school, but yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, so like it's kind of that where it doesn't matter how many times you listen to the song, but if you have one note that's offbeat, it'll always kind of catch you off guard. It's a nice effect if you're going for it, obviously, but it's kind of like that. But it plays offbeat. But no, I love everything about it. You've got a kid who's a bit of a badass. You've got the concealed environment. You've got problem solving. Let's get power working. Let's put up defenses. Let's try and survive the night. It's just all these things in the rules, and it builds the mythology of the movie. You get a little bit more of the company that maybe is behind everything that's going on. You get a little bit more of this is what Marines are like in this universe. Because in the first movie, all we see are this crew of this ship. That's all you see the whole movie, and then this movie expands it a little bit. And of course, the most important part of the Alien franchise is that Jonesy survived and lived a nice, happy, long cat life. And that's all there is to say about that. I love Aliens. Aliens is kind of the pinnacle of everything I love about sci-fi and action and all that stuff rolled into one.
That's fair. It's like I said earlier when I was talking about Aliens, I think Alien and Aliens are on par with each other as masterpieces
I kind of agree with
in
that.
what they're doing, and it's ultimately just which do you prefer? What
And
what what what, what appeals to you more?
they both appeal to my sensibilities completely. I mean, I had them at number 1 and 4. That
Oh, exactly. Mine were 3 and 7, so not far apart.
So there you go. That is our top 50 science fiction films, from me and Connor. Hopefully you got some recommendations in there. Hopefully you enjoyed some of our insulting of each other. Do you want a little honourable mention? Kind of just rhyme some off without really saying much about them, just because obviously we're already way over time here. But
Yeah, sure.
so obviously there's more Star Trek movies I like. Some people are going to say, "Hey, where was Wrath of Khan? You had like 3 Star Trek movies, and no Wrath of Khan." Look, when I rewatched them all, I think I'll appreciate that one more. I liked it quite a bit, but it wasn't my favourite from viewing. I also really like the motion picture while we're on Star Trek, just for the record. Which some people don't really don't like that, but I mean, you obviously had a bunch that I like as well that never made it, like Midnight Special. The original Solaris is really good. Invasion of the Body Snatchers '78. I want to bring up Sunshine, which is a really good movie. Starman, really good. But Cube, Inner Space, we talked about that in Flux a while ago. That's a really solid movie. But yeah, and then if you want some goofier ones, Night of the Comet and Time Cop for my silly B movie, but lots of fun. Honourable mentions.
You kind of listed a bunch of the ones I would have mentioned. Things I kind of mentioned Akira earlier. Love that. The World's End, I think, because I don't really have many comedy movies on this list, or comedy, bent ones. But that was very close.
Like that more than Galaxy Quest? That what you're saying?
No, just they're very on par for me. They were both kind of close, but you obviously had Galaxy Quest. So I don't really feel the need to mention it. Tron and Tron Legacy, I like both of those quite a lot. And then something that, I know you had a few kind of romantic films that were the sci-fi bent. One that was very close, came in at like 52 for me, was About Time, which is a romantic comedy where all the men in the family can travel back in time.
Actually, I stopped keeping track. I think there might have been only 2, maybe 3 movies on your list that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I wasn't paying any attention, I'll be honest.
Cowboy Bebop's the only one I remember off the top of my head.
Cowboy Bebop, you definitely hadn't seen Tokyo Tribe.
Oh yeah, 2.
I don't know, there might have been another.
But no. So that's just interesting. That's interesting to keep track of that. But hey, so there we go. There's our top 50 sci-fi movies. So hopefully you had some fun with this and you enjoyed this for the journey. Of course, let us know some of your picks. Give us your own list in the comments. Let us know what you think of our picks in a nice way. Please.
It's fine. You can tell us that we're both wrong for having the Terminator above Terminator 2. We're used to it.
You can tell Connery's wrong for a lot of things, honestly. I'll approve most of it. But yeah, let us know what your picks are in the comments. Like, subscribe. Get us on patreon.com at patreon.com/mailfuzztv. We've been recording both of these back to back.
It's really late, and I didn't notice until I had that technical fault, and then I was like, my brain kind of fried once I realized the time.
Yeah, it's very late. So yeah, guys on Patreon, you get voting rights, of course. We've got video game movies up for the vote for our patrons to vote on this month, and then of course we also have the Vault, which is a sort of to-do list of films where our patrons submit the films that add on to the list. Everyone can look at the list. The link's in the description. You can see what's on there. Every so often we'll pick one off and we'll do it. But to submit one, you have to be a patron. So that's that. So check that stuff out. Otherwise, get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. And that is us. So it's been a very long night. Hopefully you've had fun with us. We are probably going to go... Well, I'm going to go eat, Me too. Before anything else, because it's been a while since I've eaten.
Eat, then sleep, basically.
Eat, then sleep is largely the thing. Maybe some editing. I've got editing to do.
Ha.
Shut up. This has been 121 in the Flux. It has been our... What will now be quarterly countdown list specials. So hopefully you had fun. And by all means, suggest other countdowns we could do. Obviously, other genres and other decades, like the ones we've done, are obvious things we're going to probably hit at some point. But if you've got wackier ones, funner ones, by all means hit them. And yes, one day, we're sort of saving it for a special occasion, but there will be a top 100 movies of all time at some point.
I think we want to get through enough of these smaller ones, because every time we do these, we kind of chip away at a few of the extra movies that we plan to watch for that.
Yeah.
So that by the time we get to doing that top 100, it'll be special.
And we don't know what we're doing when we hit like the April one. We actually haven't decided yet. So obviously it's far enough in advance that we can
take suggestions at this point.
But yeah, so thank you very much for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and we'll see you next time.